Almost every tutorial tells you what to study, but basically none of them tells you when, in what order, and for how long. So for you, my dear student, I put together an epic 6-week drawing bootcamp to help you level up your drawing skills. The bootcamp is basically different exercises each week in a specific order that builds on itself. I've spent years as a senior artist at Blizzard, and I've taught art full-time ever since, doing a ton of research on the science of learning. And this is a bootcamp that will work regardless if you have just very little experience or as much as I have. So if you stick with the 6 weeks, I guarantee you your art will get significantly better, so much so that others will notice. Bold claims, I know, so time to deliver. Let's get started. All right, quick word on the setup first. So every week you get 4 tasks and 1 project. Usually it'll be around like 20 to 40 minutes a day or more if you want to, the more the better. But the project is really where you take that week's effort and actually finish something. And that matters more than it sounds because most people practice with absolutely no target. So these weekly goals will help you retain a lot more and, as a result, improve a lot faster. And all of this is based on proven educational science. Every task also has an optional level up. Basically, it just adds a little difficulty, and that's worth trying if you're, going into this with a little bit more experience. If you're just starting though, save that for later. Equip your smudge guard, grab your pen, and here we go. Week 1 is all about control, because before anything else, your hand has to do what your brain tells it. A lot of people are stuck here without realizing it. They might have a decent eye, but their hands just won't cooperate, so everything comes out wobbly. So the first task will be to fill a page with straight lines, curves, and ellipses. So no drawings, just lines from the shoulder with long, confident strokes. No scratchy lines allowed here. The second exercise is 20 boxes and 20 cylinders in every orientation you can think of, because almost everything you'll draw is built out of those. And like with each of these, by the way, I recommend doing a little bit each day to mix things up, rather than doing 20 cylinders all at once. Now, the third exercise of the week is drawing 10 simple idle poses at 2 to 3 minutes each. Your first taste of the figure. And just don't worry about the result too much at this point. It's more of an exercise of observation. And now, fourth, form manipulation. So you'll fill a page with volumes that you've stacked, cut, beveled, and extruded. That's where your flat shapes will start turning into solid objects in your head. It's a big important step. And the project here is your benchmark drawing. This is actually the first thing that you'll want to do before the week even begins. So take like 1 hour and copy a character of your choice. No tracing though, so this might seem like a big one to start with, but trust that I know the process. In week 6, you'll be drawing that same character again, and this will be an awesome confirmation of your level up. So don't skip it. Week 2 is form and perspective, building on what you did in week 1. You'll reinforce your perspective fundamentals, so start by watching this class linked below. The second exercise is 10 minutes drawing a pose from reference. And then you'll draw it again with the reference gone from memory. Oh no. This is, by the way, an S tier exercise. Well, they all are, but yeah, this one is gold. The third exercise of the week is drawing 10 boxes in different sizes in 1-point perspective. Now that you know how to do it. And then fourth, you'll block out a simple room, floor, 2 walls, and just 1 piece of furniture. And the project is a simple prop, so like a chest in 2-point perspective this time, which you should also know how to do at this point. A chest is just a more complex box, right? So you should definitely be able to handle this. It doesn't have to be as complex as mine. And that's week 2 complete. 1/3 of the way. Week 3 will be more focused on the human figure, and this is a pivotal week in the bootcamp. A lot should start to click this week. First, reinforce your observation fundamentals. So go watch the quick pose class from last week if you haven't yet. Link down below. The second exercise will be drawing 30 quick poses at 2 minutes each, spread across the week. Again, don't do them all in one sitting. And third, 5 character poses at 5 minutes each, but just the torso and above, no legs. And fourth, 1 long study, 20 minutes on a single pose. Then you overlay your drawing on the reference to see exactly where you went off and correct as needed. The project for week 3 is the figure in motion. So this time you'll draw 2 characters interacting, and they have to be touching in some way, from reference of course. And on this I would spend like 30 minutes to an hour max. So just like the rest of the week, focus on the bodies and keep the details for last, right? If you have time left. Now that was a lot of figure drawing this week, but the rest will be more chill. But before we move on, 6 weeks of character fundamentals will take you a long way, you'll see. But now imagine 67 weeks of this covering every aspect of art. That's what my program, Art School for Digital Artists, is all about. It's a complete art education, so the structure starts at absolute zero and it ramps up all the way to professional level work across 67 weeks with every class you need along the way, over 30 of them, in the right order. It's built as an alternative to art school at a fraction of the price, with lifetime access, all future updates for free, and a private Discord full of students working through the same stuff you are. And we just passed a huge milestone, 33,000 students, which is just mind-blowing numbers at this point. So to celebrate, the whole program is 1/3 of the price off, 33% off until the end of the month. So check the link down in the video description for all the details. And if you're already a student, thank you. Actually, I would highly recommend this bootcamp once you've completed the program. These are all exercises that I personally do on a regular basis to keep honing my skills. Which brings me to week 4, the figure, and specifically construction, one of the most important art fundamentals. So first, you'll review your construction fundamentals, specifically by watching this class on building the classic mannequin. That's going to give you a lot of the tools needed to tackle the weekly tasks and the project. And second, you'll draw 5 mannequins in simple poses from reference, and those references can be photos or drawings, up to you. The third exercise will be to copy a character's body in a neutral pose, no face, no hair, no clothes, using construction first, and then finishing it up with a clean sketch on top. So a 2-step process. And then in fourth, you'll take one of this week's mannequin that you drew, your favorite one, I guess, and draw it again from memory, only bringing the reference back at the end to correct yourself. And this week's project is a body built from construction, a full standing figure made out of boxes and cylinders in a pose that you think is cool, so more of a dynamic pose. And of course you want to use references here. No reference, no learning. And we're already on the home stretch, so week 5 is focused on values, and this is the week that your drawing starts looking 3-dimensional, like 3D sculpts instead of flat images. So first, you'll review how to shade by checking out the shading class linked below. Second, you'll shade 5 of last week's figure drawings using references. And the Magic Poser Web is a great tool for this, since you can just pose a figure and light it however you want. And then in third, a master study in grayscale. And just a partial character is fine here, so it doesn't take too long, using only midtones, highlights, and shadows on 3 separate layers. Because keeping them separate forces you to think in value groups instead of smudging around, hoping everything works out. And then fourth, you'll shade another artist's line art drawing. And so for this exercise, you can feel free to grab any of mine, as long as you don't claim you did it. And now week 5's project is a portrait in grayscale. So either a self-portrait using a mirror, or a stranger from a reference. Now this time, no need to split your values into separate layers, but stay mindful of your highlights, your midtones, and your shadows as you go through this. Now here we are, week 6, the final week, everything comes together. So first, review the character design basics, the last class of the bootcamp, again linked down below. This week, you'll start to design your own characters, so it's a really fun one, I think. The second exercise is to draw a standing character from construction. No reference, no clothes, just a figure. You'll see, it'll come out much better than you imagine now, after 5 weeks spent developing your skills. And then in third, you'll build a character using parts from 3 different references. So like the torso from one, the legs from another, and then maybe like an arm from a third reference. You're making something that didn't exist before now. And in fourth, you'll redraw your week 1's character, right? Your benchmark. So use the same reference and put it next to the first drawing that you did. This task 4 is the moment that this whole thing was basically built for. So it's the same character, the same reference, but 6 weeks apart. Having done this myself, I can guarantee you that you'll see just how much easier everything is 6 weeks later, and how much better it looks. Which now brings us to the final project of this bootcamp, and it's to design your own character. So something that you created yourself, drawn using everything we covered. This is where you get to show off and have some fun. So that's all of it. When you finish, I'd highly recommend that you run it again in like a few months' time with a fresh benchmark. The tasks don't really get easier, and that's by design. You just get better results each time. And of course, I did all of this digitally, but pen and paper works great. Now, I highly recommend that you bookmark this video as you work on it so you can have quick access to all the exercises. I'll put every single week in timestamps so you can easily, get back to where you are. And now, it's your turn. Ready to level up? Do it.